You need to be prepared for damaging wind, power outages, heavy rain, tornadoes.
Hundreds of nursing home residents were packed in just before Ida hit.
I'm still scared. I'm still shaking.
There's too many people in one spot.
Reeking of urine and feces.
She says she's in hell.
A brittle diabetic who hadn't eaten.
It's like that.
I just want to know she's okay.
He was a great photographer in New Orleans, self-taught. When he was very young, he would develop his pictures in my mom's bathroom.
Michael Terranova,
He loved taking pictures of the city.
has photographed a who's who of New Orleans legends.
The first big thing he did, I think, was taking Morton Anderson's picture for his first poster.
The city itself was his muse.
Do you miss taking pictures?
I miss walking. I was there with a stroke, and I haven't walked in 4 years.
He's paralyzed on one side of his body. Mr. Personality trapped in half a body.
Makes me cry. But I'm over the crying, and now I'm just into making sure he's taken care of.
His family placed him at Maison Orleans nursing home uptown. That is, until August 28th.
It was crazy. They were going nuts. It was a mixture of a zoo and an insane asylum.
Failure, a domino effect of failures. And who pays the price? It's the residents.
Richard Mollett is executive director of the Long-Term Care Community Coalition, a national advocacy group for nursing home residents. He says any evacuation plan to place residents on mattresses on the floor of a warehouse is inappropriate, callous, and cruel.
It was frankly shocking to me, even after all these years, to read those reports and see what was going on online because of the foundational risk that residents were being put into.
Records show the state was aware of the plan to use the warehouse as an evacuation site. 2 days before the storm touched the coastline, health inspectors documented residents were on their way to the facility by the hundreds. August 27th. At 2 p.m., an unidentified state health inspector goes into the warehouse complex. Their survey report paints the picture of a well-stocked facility with enough supplies to care for 700 nursing home residents for 7 days. 843 would ultimately end up there.
I don't know where else I could have put us, but it had to be better than that on the floor of a warehouse.
911, what's your emergency?
August 28th. The day before Ida hits begins with a call to 911 from a resident at the warehouse saying she thinks she's been kidnapped. 3:30 p.m., the director of operations at the warehouse tells the health inspector she expects to admit 843 residents. Ambulance after ambulance arrives.
Oh my God, and we had to keep pushing the patients over tighter and tighter to fit everybody in.
4:28 p.m., inspectors interview 3 residents. They all say, so far so good, and that their needs were being met. But that wouldn't last. August 29th, as Ida approached Tangipahoa Parish, conditions inside deteriorated quickly.
The electricity kept going off.
Generators struggled to keep up with air conditioning, and text messages later reveal it wasn't adequately powering chillers for residents' oxygen tanks. The staff struggled to keep up too. Residents we interviewed say the nurses and aides who were there were incredible, but there weren't enough of them.
It was real bad. Real bad. Just couldn't take it. It's too many people in one spot.
This worker asked not to be identified and admits they were outnumbered. At 11:57, as the storm raged, a stroke patient calls 911 saying, quote, he's laying on the floor and he's being treated poorly. As night fell,
Everybody was screaming. Everybody wanted to go to the bathroom.
Did a lot of people not make it to the bathroom?
Yeah, I watched them taking their clothes off and wiping themselves on their mattress. It was horrible.
then came the water.
It came down the wall. We got about 5 inches. And people were screaming and praying.
The floor filled with water in this building, and many residents were unable to get off their mattresses.
I kept thinking all night, I wonder what it feels like.
Drown?
To drown.
6:23 a.m., another unidentified health official got a text message saying, quote, the Bob Dean facility in Tangipahoa had taken on 8 inches of water. 911 calls were coming in, over 50 in all. And at 2:37 p.m., the first call indicating a resident was struggling to survive.
I kind of figured it was going to happen for the conditions that we were in. I expected it.
3:31 p.m., LDH officials first text Bob Dean, the owner of the warehouse and the 7 nursing homes, saying there are problems. 4 hours later, Dean responds, hello, who the is this? The start of a profanity-laden tirade. 4:30 p.m., records show a state health surveyor is greeted by an aide when they arrive, who, quote, tells them to go in because this was not right.
The smell of urine and feces was unbearable.
Resident Julie Scuderi says she wore a mask not for fear of COVID, but to dampen the stench.
Did you feel like you were a prisoner?
Yes.
Inspection reports indicate most did not wear them. COVID protocols were lacking and not everyone was vaccinated.
We didn't have privacy to take care of them. There's too many people, no privacy. You changing everybody right by everybody. And with the COVID, it just wasn't enough space. It was just awful.
11:15 a.m., another surveyor inspects the facility and finds the bad conditions even worse. They noted mattresses inches apart. A woman was crying out for help, but no nurses could hear her. 1:26 p.m., surveyor calls the conditions unacceptable, noting 4 people had died, 3 of them hospice patients. 4:45 p.m., surveyor calls Bob Dean by phone, says he repeatedly asks who sent you, and tells health officials to, quote, get off my property now. He would later exchange more incoherent messages with health officials.
Yes, this is Bob Dean.
Leaving this threatening voicemail as they prepared to evacuate the residents.
If you come foot on my property, you will be arrested for trespassing.
But the state did go in September 1st.
The 800-plus nursing home residents that evacuated here to this warehouse have now all been relocated.
Conditions went from bad to worse.
Some of the patients are being taken here, as you said, to the LSU field house.
I don't know if anybody else was told anything, but we weren't. We still haven't been told anything.
My brother was there.
Terra Nova's family was in the dark too.
I had the number of his social worker at Maison Orleans, and I texted her and I said, I want to know where my brother is. I want to either go up there, I want to see him, or I want to take him. And she said, no.
No?
No, just no. And I said, this is not right. I want to see my brother. And she goes, I don't know where he is. And I said, you said you were with him.
Eventually, the state brought everything into focus. He was at the shelter in Alexandria on a cot, off the floor, and within hours headed to another nursing home.
New Orleans boy wants to stay in New Orleans.
They now have to figure out how to bring him home to a life in New Orleans that will look much different than the pictures in his mind.